Welcome back. 7:25 on the East Coast. More than a dozen emails that Hillary Clinton sent to a longtime advisor as Secretary of State suggest that they were not, quote, unsolicited, as she has claimed. The emails to Sidney Blumenthal were not turned over by the State Department, but were discovered when he submitted them to the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Clinton repeatedly says, quote, keep them coming. She also appears to try to cover up her correspondence to Blumenthal. For one email, Clinton asks longtime aide Huma Abedin, quote, can you print for me without any identifiers? And in March of 2012, Clinton responded to an email
The Clintons are just amazing. They are just amazing. You go back, Caddy, to her UN press conference. You go back to her UN press conference, and that story has been shredded like Swiss cheese. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it, yeah. Lawrence? Does it? Does it? Look at Lawrence. You have dealt with the Clintons for a long time. I get that frustrated look in your eye. The rules that apply to every other politician does not apply to the politician.
Some good way to explain what she meant when she said
no identifiers.
She's turned over all of the relevant State Department emails, and everything else on there was just, you know, wedding stuff.
There's just no way.
Can you give me some time to?
Yeah.
Is there a commercial break coming up where I can work?
We do.
That you can go over your legalese.
Disclosure defense and defend every word of that statement.
It's when you ask for an email with no identifiers. That's the thing. It's when you kind of say, listen, I don't want any trace of this. Can I have it? But can
Depends
we?
on the meaning of the word relevant.
Anyway, keep.
Okay.
Well, Lawrence is trying to figure this out. Why don't you keep reading?
Okay, I'll buy him a little more time, Lawrence. Okay.
Read slowly.
Okay. So in March of 2012, how are we doing, Lawrence? Clinton responded to an email saying this, quote, this strains credulity based on what I know. Any more info about it? Blumenthal replied, quote, we'll seek more intel. A Clinton campaign spokesman says in part, quote, Mr. Blumenthal began emailing of his own accord. Polite acknowledgements are not tantamount to solicitation. And I think that any reasonable person who has ever had an email exchange would agree. Particularly if there are no identifiers attached.
Yes, could you keep sending these,
yes,
and I will politely ask that they be
come
sent
anonymously.
Without identifiers. I mean, we have that back and forth. We have during that exchange all the time.
All the time. Right here, I scratch out the identifiers.
on everything.
You, Joe. It gives me a lot of trouble.
I know.
Knowing that we email all the time.
Exactly. It just scratches.
Look, I mean, I think.
Do you have an answer? Or do we need to go to commercial break?
Partial. Okay. Here's my partial defense. I think what they're saying about the contents of the email is reasonable. I don't think there's any, big smoking gun in there. And they removed the identifiers. Probably indicates she wanted this thought, whatever it was, on a piece of paper so she could show someone else and say, what do you think about this? But look, it goes back to the original issue, which is the proper custodial preservation of State Department emails, and all of the rules and protocols on that were violated. There's no question about it. It was very clearly in violation. And so then, after the violation is made, when she's a candidate for president, Hillary Clinton says, I have now turned over all State Department emails, all of them. And the only stuff I didn't turn over after my lawyers went through the server and checked it all was personal stuff involving weddings and material like that. What we've now discovered is that statement, as she said it, is not true. That's the thing that we've discovered is not true. How much that actually means and what is the content of the stuff that she didn't turn over, so far, in what we've seen there's nothing truly true.
And we won't know, unfortunately,
and you're never going to know.
Because she wiped out the server, which I think is the great
and if you care at all about the Freedom of Information Act, which is what liberals should care about here, that was an absolutely unacceptable choice from the start that she used an email system that and then that she deleted it. That was to contradict the Freedom of Information Act, Americans' freedom, the press freedom to be able to request these kinds of documents. That's what it was about.
And to see if something improper was being done, Caddy, because again, the thing about Sidney Blumenthal is this isn't just about going back to 1998 or 1999. He had business interests in the countries which he was advising Hillary Clinton, which was highly improper, especially for her to pass his memos around to other people. When I say highly improper, probably not illegal, but certainly most Secretary of States would be very uncomfortable about sending around friends memos that has business interests in the countries that they're...
And maybe that's why she didn't want these emails to be identified with him. I mean, I think, and what's slightly befuddling here is that, as Lawrence suggests, there is no explosive issue that has come out of these emails. So why not have full disclosure?
And also the one exchange
but I've got to stop there. It's just like the Rose Law Firm billing records. When somebody says, oh, well, there was nothing there. Well, they kept them for 3 years and shuffled through them for 3 years and were the custodians for 3 years of subpoenaed documents. And so when they finally turned them over,
where'd they find them? I can't remember where they
in the Clintons' living quarters. And so when they magically show up and the press does a collective yawn, you can't...
We don't know.
You were then
it was old news.
You were then stopped from saying that, oh, well, there was nothing in there. And it's just like the emails. You can't say there's nothing damning in there because we don't know what was in there because you wiped out the server.
Right.
And for me, again, I think that's the most troubling thing, that we will never know whether it's a Freedom of Information Act or whether it was because it was subpoenaed or whether it was whatever issue you want to talk about. I think that's a problem.
The most troubling thing for her, I think, has less to do with the emails, Benghazi, or anything like that, in that it's just one more element out there. They're always hiding something. The Clintons, what are the,
you know why you think that?
Not
because they always are hiding something. Lawrence.